Hello all, James here. Now, a few days ago on Keven Nash's podcast, he was talking about how he'd like to see Javon Evans do or change something. I guess I'm not quite sure, so let's just get to the quote here immediately, which I will now read because we don't have 20 minutes to listen to Keven Nash say it. So, he's an incredible athlete. He's a little bit too Mr. Bojangles for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban. I understand it's Netflix, and I understand there's a big world out there besides the one that 66-year-old Detroit boy Keven Nash wants, but I just want him to have a little bit of an edge. He can strike, he throws a good punch, take your time and throw a good punch. Maybe put two or three together. Something where you tell me if this stuff wasn't real, or was real, all this athleticism I have I can use. Not, if this was real, I would cartwheel off your body like you would never see. He sells good, I mean he does everything good. Well, so I believe what Keven Nash is getting at here is that he likes Javon Evans as a performer, but he needs more of a hard edge to him. And at the moment, he's pretty kid-friendly, bounding down to the ring. But it's Nash's wording that has landed him with some criticism here. First off, the Mr. Bojangles reference. Now, this is me splitting hairs, and I don't expect anyone particularly to understand or have known the distinction beforehand, but Mr. Bojangles was white. Mr. Bojangles, the person who the song was written for in 1968, I think it was in actuality Jerry Jeff Walker, who used Mr. Bojangles as an alias. So Bill Bojangles Robinson, also not Billy Robinson the wrestler, but Bill Bojangles Robinson was the tap dancer from the turn of the previous century where Mr. Bojangles assumed his alias from, and Bill Robinson was black, of course. Now, I'm splitting hairs once again here, and no one's going to be making that distinction, practically nobody, including Keven Nash, but I just wanted to say that. But anyway, that coupled with the Mr. Bojangles dancing reference, it's Nash's claim that he wanted Javon Evans to be more urban, essentially, I guess, a little bit more gangster. That took the jam out of a lot of people's donuts, let me tell you, that quote. So, and I will get back to it in a second, but Keven actually had the same criticism for Men on a Mission back in the mid-90s, asking why they were kind of like a goofy kids act in purple silk rather than something more akin to, at the time, West Coast rap, NWA, Tupac, that kind of thing. Something with a harder edge to it once again. He may have had a point back then, actually, with Mabel, especially when he turned heel, aside from, they changed the music slightly, they added sirens, and then they had a crown made for him when he won King of the Ring that was made out of the same material as, I guess, Bret Hart's sunglasses. There wasn't really much change in the presentation beyond that and a bit of frowning going on. But Javon Evans is 21 years old, right? He's fresh to the roster. He looks like he's pretty much being his authentic self, and he looks happy. I don't particularly need a different presentation for Javon Evans at this point, especially when he's still a rookie, and it's working. So I kind of think that's a misguided suggestion in the first place, but there you go. But especially from what I'm gathering from Nash's suggestion that he be more urban, there isn't enough of... isn't there enough of that already in wrestling? And I think it's kind of nice that Javon Evans isn't portraying a stereotype or even a negative stereotype on television. What we probably don't want here is another version of Crime Time, which wouldn't work at all today, and quite frankly shouldn't have worked 20 years ago, and it kind of didn't. I'm surprised that got on television 20 years ago. But anyway, Keven Nash apologised for his choice of words, which I think we can agree were fairly poor choices of words at this point. But once again, before we get to that, I also want to make mention of Keven Nash's other point, which he was saying that Javon's punches are really good. He just needs to slow them down and make them more impactful. I would disagree with that, saying that I don't think Javon Evans' punches are that good, and that is something that he needs to work on. But a lot of what he does is absolutely amazing. And on Monday, he did a move that put Seth Rollins' finisher totally to shame. But other than that, it wasn't treated like a finisher at all. I just want to show you this 1 second, that I thought it was totally worth showing. This is something like Javon Evans needs to work on, is as far as a criticism that I would consider more valid. And it's, look at this.
Wow! What the?
It is a curb... that puts the curb stomp to absolute shame. absolutely amazing move. But here's what gets me, is straight afterwards. It isn't treated like a finisher because he just picks him up and then just does the next move. Which, once again, I find kind of like it's unbelievable move, and then you just kind of just move on to the next thing. That should be a finisher, if not at least some sort of signature move that he does actually beat people with, because it's great. Now, that kick now needs to be put away in the locker for months so people forget about it, and then brought out again and then treated with more reverence, more seriousness, and like get pins with it, because once again that puts the curb stomp to shame. And hopefully that'll all come with time and maturity for Javon Evans. Not throw everything at the wall, get all your stuff in, as the phrase goes, or the version of the phrase goes, the clean version anyway. But once again, it wasn't the punches that people had issue with what Keven Nash was saying. It was the phrasing that he said. Let's go back to the urban suggestion, or the urban wording, the phrasing, the quotes. People were on, climbing on board the outrage train on that one with, Bojangles and urban pretty much in the same sentence, and started demanding an apology from Big Sexy himself on social media. That Keven actually gave. He actually gave an apology. Although I've got to say, it's one of the weirdest paragraphs you'll probably ever read in the guise of an apology. So I'm going to read it to you. How often have you heard the term Uncle Tom? Most likely, it was used in a degrading way. If you've actually read the literature, Uncle Tom was whipped to death for helping free 2 female slaves. I apologise for the use of the term Mr. Bojangles. It was in poor taste and obviously offensive. I just see talent being pushed in a direction that I disagree with. He should be the male version of Sol Ruka. That I think he's misspelled. Isn't it S-O-L? Anyway, more contemporary than urban. Funny how I'm usually the only person who pays attention to the development of black talent. Okay, so let's go this line by line. Bringing up Uncle Tom's cabin is kind of weird there. Maybe with his version of that, he does know that Mr. Bojangles is white. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing that he still doesn't understand the distinction, because practically no one does between Bojangles and Mr. Bojangles. But once again, splitting hairs here on that point. But it's kind of weird that just immediately you're bringing up Uncle Tom's cabin. But Nash then apologises for the Bojangles reference. But then Nash says he disagrees with Javon Evans' presentation, and that he should be more like Sol Ruka, who is kind of more like a Matt Riddle surfer type, but with less weed and probably less of a burning hatred for Brock Lesnar as well, I guess. But I'm not quite sure how comparing Sol Ruka to Javon Evans is kind of the same thing. That's just me. Maybe other people see. I don't put it this way. I don't even know why you changed Javon Evans' character at all. It's working once again. He doesn't need to be like Sol Ruka or Crime Time or anywhere in between, quite frankly, in my opinion. And then Nash says once again this. Funny how I'm usually the only person who pays attention to the development of black talent. What the fuck is he talking about? Like, I didn't realise Nash had invited himself to the cookout and was the only guy looking out for black talent here. And also, it's kind of a weird way of throwing shade at Triple H, because if Keven Nash is the only person looking out for black talent, that must mean Triple H isn't, who is, of course, the current WWE Chief Creative Officer. And, like, for the last couple of years, people, I'm guessing mostly AEW sickos, have been piling onto Triple H saying, hey, you're not featuring enough black talent, especially on the WWE PLEs as of late. But it just seems a really weird comment to make, to put yourself on that pedestal that you're the only person trying to help black talent, which is bizarre. Anyway, a day or so after posting this kind of like sorry not sorry post, or whatever it was. I mean, there is an actual apology in there, but like a weird defense of himself as well, dragging up weird references and also saying that he's the only person looking out for black talent. More people flooded the comments with negativity, calling him a racist and most likely every other name under the sun, until Big Kev just deleted it. Now, could Keven have worded his initial comments more sensitively? Absolutely, I'm sure he could have done. Of course he could have done. But it's also not quite like he was saying that Javon Evans needs to be Al Jolson out there either. This does need some perspective here, people. Now, Nash said, quote, once again, he wishes Javon was a little bit more urban. Once again, a poorly worded way of saying he wishes he had more of an edge or more contemporary. Quite frankly, they're two completely different things, distinct, different descriptions of what he could... Look at the adjective. But sometimes, look, that's what happens when you're recording podcasts. You say the first thing that comes to your mind. It's really tough sometimes to get your words out when you're under the pressure, like I am now with a camera in front of you, and you don't really have time to take it back, or you don't even notice, and then it's out there, and people take it the wrong way, or you say things the wrong way, and people kind of take it the right way, but you know what I mean. It's like sometimes you just say things on podcasts. Not everybody's perfect. But the real lesson here is when a load of strangers on social media are clamoring for you to apologize, they don't want to forgive you. Just remember that. They want you to admit your perceived mistake so they can pile on you further. But once again, Keven Nash, yeah, he could absolutely have phrased that a ton better and phrased his criticisms more considerately. But also, I completely disagree with him as well. Like, Javon's punches, I think, definitely need more work. They're among, like... And he's got tons of positives. They're among his weakest points. And, you know, bits of, like, timing and that kind of thing. And also, if you're going to do a great move, let it breathe. Give it more impact. Don't just move on to the next thing like you're nervous. But once again, that's just something that'll come with time, I'm sure. But also, in my opinion, he doesn't need an edge. Kids love him. So do adults. People are cheering him when he's coming out. People are not tired of him. So why mess with the formula, especially so early on in his career? That is what I ask of, I guess, Keven and anybody else who maybe think he already needs his character changing this early on in his career, especially on the main roster. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.